What's going on, everybody? Another episode of DMC, and today we're talking about how to be an excellent conversationalist. Are you hearing me? Let's start the show.
And then you have to look up dating.
Baby, I'm selfish. I want you to myself, I can't help it. Oh my, baby, I'm selfish. Oh my, lady, and I can't. Baby, I'm selfish. I want you to myself, I can't help it. Ayy, no one but me, baby. What's going on, everybody? It's another week, another episode. BHL, DMC, dating, mating, and communicating. In today's episode, it's a special one because we're going to break down to people how to be an excellent conversationalist, and who better to break it down to we bring in people that actually do talking for a living, a career. So let's get right into it. I am your host, Jimmy V. I can be found on Twitter, Instagram, @BigYourOwnDad. Let me introduce the lovely co-host of mine.
Yes, I am Constance Dunn. How are you? You can find me at Twitter or Instagram @Constance Dunn. And we have a special guest tonight. I'm so excited.
Special guest, one of my main mans out here in the California living.
And a funny guy.
He's a comedian. He's a producer. He be directing. I mean, he be doing his thing. Let me introduce him right now. Steve Brown. Everybody, give it up for him. Real quick, talk to the people, man.
Look, it's your boy, Steve Brown, coming straight out of New Jersey, you know, holding it down. You can follow me on Instagram, because that's where I look good, at s.brown_XL, and put the capital on that XL, because we keeps it moving forward.
Oh, hey, he might outbeat Kels with the wordplay.
Yeah.
Kels is like, I got 31 flavors of swagger.
I think Kels practiced, though. Kels be in the mirror with the oil on, like, look. I got the line.
I know exactly what I'm gonna say. 3, 2, 1, boom. So, guys, the importance of conversation. First of all, off jump, face to face.
Yeah.
Very important.
Right here, double guns.
And tell us why.
All right, here's why. Because you know I'm always in the data and I'm in the academic research. And one of the things that I found out that we were talking about last night is that the ritual of the face-to-face date is going the way of the beehive, it's going the way of the flapper, it's going the way of the buggy. And that is why, one of the reasons is because men and women, millennials and younger, and maybe a little older, are actually fundamentally uncomfortable with sustaining a face-to-face interaction with a member of the opposite sex for that damn long.
So she made that sound so smart, but I know what she was trying to say is having a face-to-face conversation is just not heard of these days.
Yeah, appetizers, main course, drinks, dinner, getting to know each other is just not something it's a ritual that's, to me, I think, incredibly important to getting to know a man, vice versa. Yeah.
If you ask me, you know, the millennials, you definitely picked on that, but you gotta think, you know, when you can cheat, you know what I'm saying, on the conversation, when you can look good, get ready, take a picture, and then type a, you know, caption underneath of it, you know, why would you put that pressure on you on going out and talking? You know, people don't communicate face to face no more. People will be famous on Instagram and be in real life, and you won't even know they talk.
And you'll never have a long-term relationship
as
a result.
Right.
Exactly. And I think this is the problem that we're running into. It's kind of like when you go down a street and you see that there's a circle and that there's actually no throughway. So we're all heading down here where people want things. You see things like relationship goals. You see all this Instagram stuff like, I want to be together. You see
relationship goals.
Yeah, I've never seen so many signs of intimacy. I've never seen in previous times like so many posters or like pictures, you know, and just in popular culture of people like relationship goals, but it's such a mystery on how to do it.
Listen,
and, you know,
during my younger days, I had this one guy always teach me this one thing. Whenever you speak with somebody, look them in the eye. What that does, it tells the person you give them respect, you want respect back. I've met these Instagram people, you know, 100K, million, blah, blah, blah. When I speak with them, they're looking everywhere, like blah, blah, blah. So I'm not sure.
You know what it is?
At the end of the day, is it because they're so used to just putting up a picture and a small caption and this is it and that's it? Or do they lack communication skills?
This might sound weird, right?
Please talk. Please say it then.
Sometimes people don't know how to look at people in the eye.
So,
see, because it's two eyes. Because it's two eyes, right? And sometimes people is like, I don't know which one to look into, but everyone knows. Or when you look somebody in the eye, you look at one. if don't nobody know this, you look at one of the eyes because it will appear to the person like you're looking in both if you look in one because you get a one-lined sight. But if you try to look in two, you might get a little cross-eyed and a little weary-eyed. Like you might just look like you just spaced out trying to stare at two eyes like that. So, maybe she don't. I mean, maybe she or he, whoever the Instagram follower was, just didn't know how to approach your eyes, man.
That's a good one, though. That's a great one. The one eye. That's a good
Steve,
tip.
well, let me ask you this. When it comes to starting a conversation with a female, do you rather do it face to face or over text, over phone?
Well, me, I'd rather lie to you to your face. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because it's almost like this. To make people feel comfortable, you ever realize when someone's too blunt with the truth?
Yes.
The truth is very uncomfortable.
They don't want the truth.
Yes.
So you
They
start
say
to
they want the
realize
truth,
people
but they
kind of
don't.
like to be lied to. They like to dream and fantasize. So the goal with talking to anybody is you got to make the truth sound like a lie sometime. You ever hear a dude that's really a good dude, like, I'm a good dude, and the girl say, that's what they all say.
Right.
But she wants to hear that. She don't want the dude to say, hey, I'm an a-hole, or,
That's right.
I really just want to get your pants.
Can you
we
speak
speed
on
this
that?
up?
Tell me more.
Like, if I was to come up to you with the whole intention, girl, just tell me what you want. Be like, look, I just want to have a son. If you say, you just walk up to somebody and say, I want to have a kid, and a specific kid with you, it's like, hey, wait, you're going too fast.
Right.
But if you say, I want to spend some time with you, I mean, that's a half truth, because he want to spend time with you, but he's spending time to do what he wants to do.
Right. So that you're investing just to get to know each other. It's like discovery period.
Maybe
we always
it's not
talk
to
with
get
dates.
to know each other, but you're investing for something.
Is it?
Right,
Which we
maybe
know at the
don't
end of the day what
know.
it is.
See, sometimes you might
Y'all invited
approach
me.
a woman with a certain intention, and as things unfold, right? Because, for instance, let's just use the most superficial one. I remember seeing this guy that was so good looking. I was like, wow, like it was shockingly good looking guy. And I went up to him and I was talking to him and I was like, oy vey, he was not really that smart.
I remember this story actually.
And
yeah.
it was really weird because all of a sudden he got less good looking, and within like 1 minute I was like, and see.
And I'm not interested anymore.
See?
I mean, I think guys are more visual creatures, right?
Definitely.
But you can approach someone and be like, hello, nurse, right? And then you start, you're going out with her for, you're hanging out with her for a few hours, and you're like, okay, yeah, this is probably not marriage material.
Nice Animaniacs reference.
Been there before, right?
Right. But yeah, so when that happens, you gotta understand, like, so what is the most of the time it's like, how do I talk to this girl and how do I keep her attention for as long as I can? So sometimes you're gonna have to fabricate.
Well, let me stop you there and let's go into our next segment there, conversation starters.
Right.
Before we focus on the conversation, how do you get a conversation started,
Right.
Steve?
What are some of your tips? I heard you're really good. Yeah.
Icebreakers. Well, you gotta have you have to analyze, almost like comedy. You gotta analyze the stage before you approach it.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Can you
like
do that?
maybe if what's the setting? You gotta give me a setting first.
There's a cute girl at the bar.
At the bar.
But it's like
Yeah.
a mixer, so you
So what is she
all-
drinking?
Yeah.
What is she drinking?
She's got gin and tonic.
Is she
was gonna
slightly
say
bopping
that.
her head, or she's not bopping her head at all?
She's just looking around like,
Okay,
I don't
yeah.
know
So-
She's
what I'm doing.
exceptionally
here.
good looking,
look,
too.
this is
Yeah,
what you do.
yeah.
When someone looks
Yeah, she
around,
cute.
when someone looks around, right? You wait till she's not looking at you, and you time it. And as soon as she turn around, you got to be there.
Oh, that's good.
You can't give
Yeah,
her, you
that's
can't give her
good.
time enough to think. You got to be there with a line too. You got to be there with the hey,
Such as what?
as in some hey will throw somebody off. If you go like this and she go and you already like hey, she's like oh.
Right, it would work. And also, I think one of the reasons, because if the man is in your line of sight as a woman and he's approaching, you're doing assessment. We do it subconsciously. We always assess everything.
Very
so you've
true. You
already
can't give
made the
them time to talk.
decision. Exactly. You can't make
give
them
them
time
time to think.
to make a snap judgment. Is that what you're thinking?
You
Is that
can't
your-
let the mind say he's broke or he might be broke. He might have issues. What if he? You can't get that. You gotta
Okay.
have her like, oh my gosh, who? Ooh, and you already like, hey, how are you doing? You want another drink? And it's like, wait, what?
So in a way, just keep the conversation
Yeah,
flowing.
then keep it
the
rolling.
conversation
Keep it rolling.
going. Boom,
Let
boom,
her
boom.
think about you when you leave. Don't let her think about you while you're standing and
See,
staring.
that's a good point. See, this is one of the things that you do well, because I have obviously met you before. One of the things that men, I think, have the hardest time doing is that it's hard to set yourself up for potential rejection for a woman. So I understand it's hard to put yourself out there. But often when guys, it's important to be not odd, not to seem like this is a loaded interaction, like casual but not sloppy. Like if you
Like,
come up to somebody,
don't
like,
overthink it. Just,
right, because then
just go with the
just
flow.
energetically it seems weird if a guy's like, comes up to you. There's a weird energy that a woman just can pick up on.
The thing is,
but you're kind of very natural the way you approach people. Does that make sense?
it makes sense because I'm comfortable within myself, and I feel like people try to, they try to be like, okay, I need to be this. Like they automatically think what someone else may want, and they try to act like that instead of just presenting themselves like, here it is.
Right.
Do you want it or not?
Or
Right.
maybe they're also scared of rejection now. Isn't that's a fear people have? They're
I
afraid
think
of like being
If
like
you know who you are, rejection is not. What is rejection? Rejection is if you reject me, you just saved my time. If you didn't reject me
that's
but
good.
planned on rejecting me, and we went on this whole day, I could have been talking to somebody else that wasn't going to reject me. So why reject me now so I can move on? Progression is key.
So you have I would say a non-attachment to the outcome, which is very healthy.
I don't know this person.
Right.
How can I be attached to somebody across the bar that I just saw?
Steve is dropping gems over here now. I hope y'all got
that's
y'all
the
pens and
attachment.
That's
pads
an
over
inner
here.
switch. That's actually a mental. That's a mental state of mind, and I really think it's awesome. Because,
I honestly think that people connect themselves to things way too prematurely.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they don't, and that's the issue. Like you see a car, and you instantly go, "Oh, I want it," but you don't check the gas mileage. You don't check what the maintenance costs. You don't check that first.
Yeah.
You just want it because you see it. You can't always want things when you see it. I
Right,
learned that
right.
a lot with a bag, some new Skittles that came out. Man,
So-
Tell me about the new Skittles. I love Skittles.
I did not like the tropical flavor, and
Okay.
then they was throwing the sour, and I was like, "You doing too much?" Because I want regular
Right,
Skittles.
it's like,
I don't want
go
all of
home.
this. Yeah, it's like knocking down the tree.
jiu-jitsu and karate and kung fu. It's too
Yeah.
much, right?
It's
Yeah,
like
in
knock-
one scene.
Yeah, like you ever seen somebody knock down a tree to build a birdhouse, but the birds was living just fine in the tree.
Oh.
So why would you knock the tree down to build the birdhouse? The bird don't want the birdhouse; they want the tree.
I ain't gonna lie, I'm lost.
It's
right
all
now,
right.
bro.
Y'all know who y'all got on this show? This Steve Brown.
I'm
Man.
This
lost.
could be a 4-hour plug.
Yeah, do your thing. But I got a question
Yeah.
for you because one thing we know about the comedy game, it's like a muscle inside the gym.
Thank you.
The more you do it,
Right.
better you get. Right? There's something about a conversational skill. How do you work on conversation?
No one is born not a natural or good communicator. It's a muscle like anything else. Just but you have to
Agreed.
take it out and work on it. It's very important because some
I
people,
call
you know.
3 R's: read, relate, and relax. Know what I'm saying? Assess the situation. See what you have in common. Everyone has something in common.
It's true.
It's
That's
nothing
true.
that you
It's
don't
true.
have in
Good.
common
It's
with
true.
somebody else. It's just you just need to pick your perspective, what you want. Like we're all humans.
Right.
Sometimes you gotta take away a female, you gotta take away a man as a man, but we're humans. And yeah, this is pretty boring, right?
What you're saying?
Just
no,
like
it's
the
really
icebreaker.
Or just like-
fascinating.
or
No,
just
I'm
being
talking about the
in the
icebreaker.
actual
like
moment.
We were hanging out.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And if I wanted to approach you,
Right.
and I saw like you were feeling the way I felt, it's like this is boring, right? And the cosign is yes, it's boring. Now in the icebreaker, now we're conversing.
So it's an observation about the person or the
Place.
environment.
The situation.
Very
Yeah.
important. Pick up some observation. I'm going to camera a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Pick up
Oh,
some.
of course, got you.
Kels is great on complimenting women. That's a tough one. I think you have to be kind of advanced. Really?
You don't compliment
Even
women.
nails, even like, oh, those are cool nails, or like, those are awesome boots.
Only if the nails has a distinction about them.
Okay.
Like I hate when people comment regular stuff. You got nice shoes. It's just black regular shoes. It's like, the shoes ain't really got the
so
significance.
It's kind
What's-
of advanced. But,
So it's like-
okay, so the observation is really great.
Admire the attempt to stand out. Like I would say your scarf. I like that.
See, that's a great one. That's like
That's-
yeah.
yeah.
And women love because we put a lot of work and idea. A lot of our identity is with hair, clothes, nails,
And
it's
then I'm
when a
sure
man
if you guys do
observes
all
it.
this and nobody observes it, you guys are like, why did I even do that for in the first place?
But he acknowledged the booty instead.
Damn right.
Yeah,
I
that
put
one's.
on- I
You
got
know
my
we did
nails
that.
done, my feet done, my eyes did, and you just talk about my booty.
And I have to say, going up to like a good-looking woman and saying you're really beautiful. You hear
Yeah.
it 5 times a
Exactly.
day. It's like It's like going up to a 6'6" guy and going, "Wow, you're
You're
tall."
tall.
He's like, "Help
I
me!"
was like, oh, I had no idea.
Or like,
Right.
"You're so hot, don't do it." The woman's eyes
Mm-hmm.
will start glazing.
Okay. So then another thing I'm sure Steve knows all about is being a funny person. How to
Yes.
have a sense of humor.
Yeah.
Constance, let me bring this over to you. We spoke about this multiple times on the show.
Right.
You've said a guy being able to make you laugh, I mean, he's just winning off the bat.
Right. Because the
What
physiology
if
of it too.
the guy
you know?
doesn't have any jokes? What if he's not gifted?
Well, I think that's why it's good we have a professional.
A professional in the
comedian.
building, right?
So if a person is let's just say I don't perceive myself as very smart or funny. I don't perceive myself.
Damn,
as very
Constance. It's like that?
I'm like not a big like teller of jokes.
Mm-hmm.
What are some ways that I could cultivate my sense of humor?
Yeah, how do you bring it out?
Yeah.
All right. So the thing is, when you approach it, is this might get a little deep.
Okay.
But as a person, I feel like a lot of us.
We got some snoring in the studio.
The house is hot tonight. The house is hot.
But,
Continue,
Honestly,
Steve.
this is crazy, and it's like how I access thing.
What you trying to say?
I read
babe?
things,
Yeah.
right? So when you go into a conversation, man, it's almost like you got to know what she's thinking already from your approach. You got to play third person in the scenario.
Okay,
it's
so
like,
give us an example.
That's incredibly advanced.
if you're
but good.
walking up to her, you already know I'm walking up to her. She's looking at me.
she's thinking,
she's
"Aw,
thinking,
man."
what line is this guy going to do next? So you can walk up to her and be like,
You're
I know
right.
you were wondering what line I was going to do next, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, I'm gonna just cut it. You want a drink?
Right. So
That's
once again though, living in that moment, right? It's not about thinking what I should say. Living in the moment and like, all right, we are here. Now what?
Yeah.
Okay, but how could you quell? And if we could get the chat up, that would be great.
Oh
I see
yeah.
we've-
Also too, shout out to I believe we do have someone in our
You can
live
read that?
chat. We
That's
do
amazing.
appreciate that. You know, I got that 2020.
Spidey sense. So how do you quell stage fright or stage fears if you are somebody that it is not very comfortable for you to go up to somebody and start speaking to them? How do you like physiologically kind of calm your mind and calm your body a little bit?
You know what?
To get in the mode, in the
don't-
moment.
It's almost as simple as don't put the pressure on yourself more than you have to. It's almost
Okay.
because it's not a pressure thing. Like you think you don't have billions of people on the earth for us to be individualized and not talk to one another. Everyone pretty much wants to be talked to. You just gotta be able to read it. It's kind of like a field thing. It's an in tune thing.
What if a female says, "I only came here to hang out with my girls. I don't want to talk to
What if
anybody."
someone's just rude? I mean, it happens,
And
right?
this
Has that
Look.
has that happened?
Look, and this is the case.
When
though.
I try to hit on a girl?
No.
Man.
When you step out with your girls and you say, "Oh, I'm only here just to hang out with them. I'm not here to meet guys." Or
This is
anything."
when honesty comes in. You say, "Well, I came here to hang out with you and them too." You know, you came out to hang. We got something in common. Because I came to hang out with you and your friends too. Y'all look good, by the way. So let's go get some.
That's cool.
You know what
There
y'all
you
want
go.
to drink. It's like
Drop that compliment.
It's
in
the
there.
truth though. It's the biggest truth. I'm not like if I was to come to you and you be like, oh, I'm here with my girls, and okay, that's perfect because I'm here trying to hang out with girls and hang out with y'all too. So now that you got more, we can all have fun. Because the overall thing about doing anything is you have to go into it with intent so everyone has fun. You can't just be like I'm trying to get her. It's like no, I like the way she is. I really want to find out about this person, but I want it to be fun. So when I come at you,
Okay.
I'm coming at you for a fun time of a night. It don't even have to
Okay.
be. It can be like I met this guy at the bar and he blew my mind and we had so much fun. We drank, we laughed, and that was it. And that's like that memory I already won. It doesn't matter if it goes another night, but that just know we had a good time that night.
Okay, so that's great. So have a sense of fun, non-attachment. I want to get back to rejection again because I know that like research that is such a big barrier for people, particularly
Definitely
people
is.
that don't have the muscle of the face-to-face
And
interaction. So you're someone who has done live comedy. I mean, you have to deal with the fact that sometimes there are people in the audience that hecklers
yeah,
and
hecklers are-
jeers.
okay.
So
Okay,
that is.
okay.
Or let's just say, some piece you've been working on doesn't come out the way that people aren't really laughing or clapping. Not that it's ever happened, but how would a performer deal with? Do they not see it as rejection? I'm just trying to keep somebody's
You believe-
spirit up. If they're maybe going
So,
to
if
ladies
they're-
and the ladies are saying no, or they're being rude or whatnot. They're just getting hit. They're not getting the response they want, and so
Right.
their morale takes a hit, and they have a harder time going on stage.
I can
okay,
tell
so-
you personally before, Steve, I'm the type to, if I give, she's not taking, I'm good. That's just me personally though.
Yeah.
And
My-
you're good the next round, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
My thing is this, and this is the same thing with stand-up comedy. I come to the stage, I'm bringing something. I'm bringing something because it's like, okay, what is your reason for even going on stage? And now I think, honestly, I feel like people don't reject people. I feel like we reject ourselves because we don't allow ourselves to really open up. Like, we go into a situation so closed and wonder why we get closed results. Like, even on stage, you got to walk on the stage and just be like, this is me.
True.
This is me. Man, you realize, like, once you tap into that, people will, once they feel like it's you, because the crowd is like a shark. It's like sharks. Like, if you're scared, they gonna be like, oh no, they're thinking this isn't natural. They wrote that.
Right.
Yeah, but when you go out there like, this is me, it's like, even when approaching somebody, I'm presenting myself. So if you don't take in me, then you just didn't take me in. But me is a good person. So it's like, you just rejected yourself. You just rejected a good person from you. I was here for you.
Interesting. Okay.
I agree.
I can be happy by myself because I love me.
You can have fun. That's a good one. There's a great saying. It's kind of a saying, but the idea is like, never try to play games or mess with someone who's not afraid to be alone, because you will lose every time. And it's kind of true.
I agree.
Yeah,
Like,
because
if you're not afraid of being broken up with or something,
you'll
it's
understand, because people don't get this. You're not for everybody.
And that is true too.
It's like, you gotta understand that fact. So knowing that, like, you gotta walk into it where, yes, it's a possibility I'm not for this person, but it still doesn't take away that we cannot make fun of this situation.
Okay. I want.
So,
oh yeah, I'm sorry.
is there ever a situation that you can't make fun of? Like, is there something that you're being too dominant or too passive in a conversation?
Like, let's say a face-to-face dinner date type of thing.
Yeah.
All right, so I can feel when I'm being too dominant or too passive, because I'm paying attention to the other person.
Okay,
a lot of people that's
in.
so into themselves, they don't pay attention to the other person.
Right.
They will tell you if it's too much or it's too little.
You're right. So it's being tuned in, and I just have to shout out to Olivia in the chat. Thank you so much.
Hey,
She
Olivia,
says that,
what's going on?
She feels that she keeps eye contact a little too much in conversation. That's pretty interesting. I think that eye contact is really powerful, especially with romantic relationships. And I've talked about the little done technique, left eye, right eye, both eyes. And that's definitely when you're interested in a man. And I have a little joke about the ability to, and it's kind of what Steven said about being there, being very focused. It's almost like having a good sense of concentration. When a man speaks and you are having dinner with him, you focus on what he is saying like a laser beam, and it doesn't matter if a UFO lands in the middle of that restaurant and little green men come out, you stay right there, because if you can focus very intently on what a man is saying, like you hang on to his every word and you look him in the eyes, thinking pleasant thoughts, it's a really powerful, and I must say, I think it's a very sexy thing to do.
And then also too, being on the opposite side of that conversation too, if you're looking at them but they're not really looking at you, you can get a sense of, okay, they're not really paying attention to me, they're just not really into this conversation, like I said, as much as I am.
They can go into the conversation closed, because the eye is the gateway to the soul. So you gotta think, if they're going into it trying to guard, eye contact too much is like they're
nervous. Exactly. Yeah.
It's like, if you go into it like, I want this person to know who I am, and you're vulnerable, it's like, because you ever been into a deep conversation, or you ever had somebody you really like and you like, yo, I can stare at you all day?
Right.
Because at that point, you took the barrier away. So now it's like, I want you to look into my eyes. I want you to see me. I want you to see that, like, what's coming in and what's coming out, you know? And when you, like, even with the audience, like, I engage with people in the audience when I tell jokes sometimes. I look right at the audience.
I think you're just very comfortable in general as a human being.
I mean, I've been through I feel like the world put us through so much. Yeah. And it's like, so why fear each other?
It's very
interesting. What I'm saying? Like, the world put us...
Steve, and speaking of yourself, why don't you share with the audience, what was one of your hardest, most nerve-wracking conversations you've had, and how did you get past it?
The most nerve-wracking conversation I've had was with a female that she just didn't want to be wrong.
So she thought she was always right?
No, she knew she was wrong, but she just wanted to see if she can change the outcome of what it was. Like, she wanted to see if she was stronger than you in conversation, to where she can, even being wrong, you still, like, because she said it, you supposed to still agree.
What's
with
an
it.
example?
All right, you ever had somebody say, I really hate this person? Anybody? I mean, hate is very strong. I'm pretty sure you strongly. you know, well, yeah, hate, but you can hate people, and it's like you can hate people, but then it's like, why hate people? Then it's like, you know what, I love everyone, but you know, sometimes, and it's like, no, I don't know sometimes. And just say
Gotcha,
hate is
yeah.
wrong with me. Let's say it together. Hate is wrong. You know?
Okay. Okay.
And it's just, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. You know, there is something about that I think is important. You know, talking about being in the moment is being interested in the other person. Because you know, we were talking about this last night, Jimmy, about curiosity. Just having, you will be a much better conversationalist if you have just a general sense of curiosity around the world,
That's
about
right.
the world, right? Like if you're interested in topics.
Just about them in general. And
Right.
example, if you are on the dinner date, whatever, you don't have to talk about life and, you know, work, blah, blah, blah. You know, step out of that, you know, talk about the most random things. I think, especially when it comes to relationships, when you ask questions that the ordinary person doesn't actually ask,
Yes.
that will make them more intrigued in you.
I'll tell you this.
Absolutely.
Can I-
Follow-ups that are not intrusive, because I know sometimes people will try to keep the conversation going, and what they'll do is they'll ask follow-ups, and then again, you feel like you're in the police spotlight.
I
that
know,
we
right?
talk
It's like,
about.
damn,
I'll tell you this.
21
Yeah.
questions over here.
And one good one is to say, oh, well, what did you think about that? Like, that's a really easy way to keep the conversation going without it being like, well, without getting too invasive.
Yeah.
This is just back to protocols of conversation.
Steve.
My real advice, and this is funny to hear people have a discussion about talking to other people when we've been living amongst each other for about, I'm 26 years I've been around people.
Yeah.
It's like, for me, I look at, we gotta stop always trying to test each other. Why are we putting each other through these tests? Oh, see, say this and see what they say. Because then if they don't say what you think they're gonna say, now you're 5 steps behind in the conversation, because now
Right.
they threw your answer you wasn't ready for. You gotta know, like, people are losing their feelings. People are being numb.
Very much so.
Very,
Very much
numb
so.
to
Very much
where we
so.
gotta break this down. This is very natural. It's very like, hey, like, it's almost like, hey, you can say hey to anybody and just watch how they weren't even expecting you to say hi. The fact that people don't expect you to say hi is already an issue.
Right. Yep.
Like, why wouldn't you expect, we're walking on the same earth, why wouldn't you expect me to say anything to you? So when you say hey to somebody and they jump like, what? Hey, me? You talking to me? Am I here? Yes, you're here. You're okay? Everything's good? You walk, cool? All right, have a nice day. It's something like that where it's like, why is that abnormal?
Okay.
It is. Can I tell you about Arizona, dude? This was just funny. It was abnormally funny. It was a date, and it was really funny because he wouldn't stop talking about himself, and it got to the point where it got really funny because I would try to interject a little bit, and then after a while I just gave up. I just sat there and I just gave up, and I just would like go, and it got like it was going on. It was a 45-minute monologue, and I just started cracking up, and it was just really funny because it was interesting because he was wholly uninterested in me in any way, and it didn't really offend me. It was more like just so odd. It was just such an unusual thing, and he was talking, all of his stories were about how amazing he was and like how awesome
And
he
then
was.
I'm sure
And
that
he
completely
never
turned you off.
Can I do a
'cause at
perspective
first I
check?
was like being very animated, like, oh cool, that's great, and then after a while I just got
Even
tired,
though it was
and I was
like, oh, yeah.
another round, pour more. I'm like,
Listen.
I'm in for the long. Most sane women would have been like, and scene after
Right.
about an hour, but I am not sane. And
But it's a perspective check. I got a perspective check you on
Right.
that, because if he's doing that, that means he wants to sell himself. So he might like you
Really?
a lot. He's selling himself. It's two ways to look at it, because
Yeah.
you might be like, man, I want to show this person I'm such an amazing person, and you're
That
so
I'm
busy
a-
trying to do that
tell
you
them
forget
this, and
that
this,
you're
and
in
this.
the conversation,
Is that
because you
right?
go into it with the intent where I want to make myself look as best as I can to this person. With, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it
and
was
you like, and you're
weird.
looking at like he's arrogant. He could be very insecure, but that was his way of trying to show you he wasn't. It's like it's a
interesting,
real.
yeah.
So if you was
Yeah.
to take that honestly, I feel like conversation is it's like an enigma. It's like if you took that and was like, wow, you're very interesting. He probably would have felt so like, oh, I'm glad that's
Really?
over. He was probably waiting for your confirmation to say, you're a very interesting dude. And he was probably like, oh man, yes. And then he might have, like, it depends on how you break that. I seen people talk about themselves all the time, and I'd be like, you know what, that's pretty dope, man. Keep following your dreams. And hit me back where it's like, yeah, man. And what do you do? Like, do you do anything? And I'm like, yeah, I do a lot. You ready
I
for
do
my
stuff.
turn?
I do
You
a
ready for
lot
my
of stuff.
turn? I'm gonna give it to you just like you gave it to me now. I got a resume too, you know what I'm saying? And boom, you break it down, and before you know it, you guys it's establishing a respect for the effort.
See, that's interesting. I definitely was receptive, but my perception, that didn't even occur to me at the time. All I could think of is, oh, I wonder why he asked me out, because he's so uninterested in me. And it's not like I showed up in
See?
sweatpants, like I showed up like, ooh,
Ready to
lined
go.
up in
Yeah.
done mode.
See
You know
that?
what I mean?
Yeah. So you just thought he was just so into himself that he clearly forgot about you.
That could have been the
It
case.
was just mystery meat. It was just like, and because it could have been a
Mystery
stick
meat.
of wood.
That's
It
a
could
new
have
one.
been this microphone with a big like wig from a thrift shop
Mm-hmm.
on it, and he would have had just as good of a time.
Understand people got to walk into conversations with confidence. That's the key. Always go into the conversation open, because you never know where it's going to go. So if you go into it open with no expectation, then it's
That's a
like
good point.
you get things out of it that you never could have thought you got out of it. Like, man, I met some beautiful women and heard some dark stories and was like, I never would have guessed. But
Yeah,
it's all
that's
about
true.
when they
That's
started
the realest.
talking, you know, I was quiet and I actually started taking in what they were saying, and I started interjecting like, oh, so what else happened? You know, I started showing interest in their conversation, because now it's not about what I was trying to do. It's about now this conversation. This is the information being given. So this is the information I got to work with. If I want to know this person, this is the part that they want to know. So we're going to dig into this then, since this is what you brought up. But I'm not going into the conversation like I'm about to show her how awesome I am.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If it comes up and it vibes like that, and I start talking about me, you be like, yo, you dope. And I want to hear more, and I give it to you. And it's like, hey, she was interested in who I was. But I had conversations where people were just venting about themselves, whether it was true or not. And, you know, that was their way of, you know, that's what they wanted out of the conversation. But if you notice it, the next conversation, they're more inclined to talk to you again.
Well, I think there's a sense of openness that you just have about you. And I think that's from the mindset that we've been talking about. Because I remember I was telling you, like, you're easy to talk to as well, Jimmy. And I was just using the example of, like, I was singing this country song, and you're like, oh, what's that? You know, and I was like, oh, it's this country song. You're like, oh, I should check that out. Like, you're just like that openness. Like, again, the curiosity and just having an openness about what somebody is saying,
That's
instead of
right.
like pushing away
Just because once
concepts,
again too,
just
it's like
oh, I might check that out.
we're all unique in our own self, right?
Right.
You may like certain things that I just don't know about, vice versa.
Right.
So who am I to say what you like isn't good?
Right.
You know, so I think especially when it comes to relating with people, if you open up yourself to actually learn what other people like, and you learn too, you start to grow within one another.
So in other words, we're talking about, like, the context is romantic conversations, but ultimately we're then going to take the pressure off and just think about it as a human conversation.
Because that's all it is.
Okay.
It's
All right, so
because
that's
the
it.
thing is, it's,
Really
it's
is, though, yeah.
like it's all the same thing. It's about caring. It's about, like, instance, I'm a comedian now. But when I was growing, I know what it was like not to be heard. It's not a
Interesting.
great feeling.
True.
I know what it's like not to be heard, to the point where I'm at a point where you're going to hear me. And when you put it out, I'm going to listen to you as well. It's like you governor your own conversation. People don't take control of their own worlds enough. And it's like, if you're in a conversation with me, my goal is we're going to have the funnest conversation, or we're going to talk about things that we ain't never talked about it before. And that's just how I feel, because what's the point of conversation? We're not going to have fun with these words. Like,
There you go. And that's why
So
he
it's
is
a
Steve
mindset.
Brown, people.
Yeah, that's really great advice, because I've been studying communication for a long time. You know, I teach it, and I've been a communication researcher, and I have a master's degree in this stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that you can study it for a long time, but it really is taking that out into the street and talking to everybody and anybody you can. And again, we opened this show by talking about how this is an arena that people are struggling with, but it's really vital. You can't not have this skill and then expect to build meaningful relationships, long-term relationships with
It's
with
in
women
everything,
and men.
business,
It's just
life,
you can't do it. Yeah,
family.
there's no cheating this one. So just taking it out in the
Communication is
street
key.
and talking to people. We were talking about there's some coffee shops they're opening up around the country.
Yeah.
No Wi-Fi, and they actually have little bowls with topics in it, just so people will start speaking to each other. You know?
Which is actually
you know
dope.
what also
Yeah.
you know what also I've been
Use
reading.
your muscle.
As a comedian, I do read a lot.
Yes.
I was reading a lot about masculine and feminine.
Which I think you have one of my books still.
Yeah, I probably do. I definitely, man. I owe a couple people their books back, but I got to get the knowledge somehow. But I was reading a lot about feminine societies and masculine societies.
Interesting.
And I was looking at how the Latina culture really greets each other and they kiss each other on the cheek and they do it on an abundance. It's like that's how they do, whether they know you or not. I done walked in my boy's house and was like, yo, I think your mom like me, bro.
Right.
It's just how
She done kiss me on the cheek, bro.
but it's just like how she is, you know. And it's like in the United States, it's such a competitive. Everything is competitive, monetary. So it's like you look at everyone next to you as your competition, and that's not how you got to look at them, because it's like that person is a source. That's why they're here. That's why we're here. We're here. Like that's it.
There's something else too that has to do with gender, is the idea of fundamentally liking men or women. This is a thing, because sometimes I know this as a woman. When a man approaches you, you're always assessing like, what does he want? And this is in the context of like a club or something, right? Yeah. And there is something about women are really, I think, evolutionarily, like we are hardwired to detect whether a man actually doesn't like women. And I don't mean that he's gay. I mean, he's a straight man who actually doesn't really fundamentally like women. He might like screwing a lot of women. He doesn't really like women. And I've always been able to detect that. You can often have like a very suave guy, and he's just like looking at you, and you could see it in his eyes that he's actually just like, it's an interesting thing.
I've
but just,
never heard of
if
this
you're
before.
a guy that there's women that just
You know
fundamentally do
what's
not
crazy?
like men. They might have a lot of boyfriends, and they might
Right.
use men for whatever they want to use men for, but they don't actually like
You ready?
men.
Learning something new
ready
every
what
day.
it is? That's crazy you say that, because everyone's not for everybody.
You like women though. You're comfortable around women.
I like humans in general.
Right, but
I respect women for women. I respect men for men. So that the same thing. Like me and Jimmy, we work together all the time on
Right.
projects and things. We don't bump heads. You know, I respect how he approaches his art, and he respects how I approaches mine, and we work well together. I feel like with men and women, if we just respect the fact that we are entities, you know what I'm saying? I'm a man, you're a woman. I respect you as a woman on this earth.
Right.
Respect me as a man on this earth. Everything else gonna fall into place. It's going to happen how it happens.
It makes it a
and
lot
bam.
easier though. I'm just saying, if you struggle with conversation, like you could ask yourself, do I actually really like women, or do I kind of have a grudge against them? Likewise with women to men. Does this make sense?
I feel like people psych themselves out.
It does.
Because men, like one of the things we are hardwired for male kindness, to be receptive to men that are fundamentally kind. It doesn't mean pushovers, doesn't mean doormats. But we do have to wrap in 3, so we have to get to questions and conundrums.
Oh,
I'm
yes.
sorry
Oh,
to-
see? The show just goes and goes and goes.
and you have to
but
promise
that's
to come
all right.
back, Steve, because I'll be reviewing
We
the show.
will
'cause
move on to our next segment
Eye
here
contact.
called
See that?
Questions
See that?
and Conundrums, which is you leave us a question in the YouTube comment section. We will bring it on our show next time we do have a show and answer that question for you. So shout out to Trini Boy, if I said that right. 27-1.
DMC VIP. He's been with us.
That's
since the
right, man.
beginning.
He
Yeah.
actually shows love, so shout out to him.
Yeah,
He said,
Ariadne,
I learned that the
J-Dog.
most important love language for my girl was quality time, but that wasn't as important to me initially. This inspires a question. How do you determine what's most important to your lady or guy? What are clues to their love language? I'll start off by just giving my 2 cents. 1, you gotta open up the conversation and ask them. You can't assume a gift. Let me do this for you. Will substitute what they truly want, which just might be time, might be a conversation, might be just sitting down and actually listening to him or her talk. So you can't get that answer unless you actually ask the question. Queen?
Perfect. Yeah, perfect. Observation too. It's the triad that I talk about. It's usually in one of these 3 categories. What they want what says love to them is either time, affection/sex, or material resources.
That's right.
You know, so it's one of the 3. And it's really funny. I have a friend, he is a man of means, and his mother.
So he got that bread, huh?
He's got a lot of it. And his
Yeah.
mother in Kentucky, he could buy her, she doesn't want anything. You know what I mean? What she wants is him to come over and fix the sink. And he'll say, hey, I'm busy. I can't. I'll send somebody over. I'll send a team of
It's
people.
not the
She's
same,
like, I
huh?
don't care.
It's
I
not
want
the
you to
same.
come over. I need you to pick up this. Pick up milk for me.
Right.
And I always try to explain to him, she does not want you to fix it. She wants you there to show her that will demonstrate love to her more than dropping a brick gold the size of Fort Knox on her? What
Gotcha.
do you
It's
think,
one of the
Stephen?
5 love languages.
Yes, the
Oh,
love
yeah.
languages.
Rehash the question again so I can answer it thoroughly.
How do you determine what's more important to your lady or guy? What are clues to their love language?
Okay. The thing is about establishing what's important between the other person is simply paying attention.
Okay.
You never know, so don't assume.
That's a good point.
We spoke about that.
Will you bring
Last
stuff in
show.
from previous
When
relationships?
you
just for the last
assume,
note?
that's when things, because now you start, now this person is, you don't want to blame a person for what they didn't do, and you don't want to assume a person is who they're not. So pay attention. If you,
That's a good point.
if a person is showing you signs that they don't want nobody buying them something, don't go out and buy them flowers and then wonder why this person's giving you the talk like, hey, you know we're just friends, right?
Right, exactly.
You know we're just friends.
You told me this.
You feel
Right.
me? So, yeah, just paying attention. That's simple human laws, man. I
Yeah.
govern myself just simplicity. I don't really look into things really deeply.
You observe. I want to get better at that, and it's good to observe because otherwise you'll need our show for next week, which is going to be all about breakups.
All about breakups, and we've all been there. If you haven't been there,
You
I
lucky.
feel bad for you
You
because
lucky
you got
if
some
you ain't
stuff to
been there.
learn. But we break it down on our show next week, which is about breakups. But as far as this show, I want to thank the comedian, producer, director Steve Brown for coming on our show.
Man, thank y'all for having
Appreciate
me,
the
man.
love.
It's
If
been
you
wonderful, man.
want to see some more of this man's work, let them know where they can find it at on
Like
your
I said,
social
man,
media.
go straight to Instagram. You'll see me and Jimmy's videos.
Oh, yeah,
You'll
of course,
see
of
us
course.
we work together. But go to my Instagram, s.brown_XL. Say it one more time, s.brown_XL. Capitalize that and keep moving forward.
And
There
if
you
you're
go.
in LA, he has a show this weekend that I am going to do whatever I can to
Intellects
be there.
only.
Intellects only.
That's
You got to
what's
get
funny.
that now.
Bring-
Yeah.
I will
bring-
actually be there as well too.
Yes, sir. He's
Oh,
hosting.
of course.
Jimmy V
Come
is
on now.
hosting.
You should have told me this. You're
Come
all like,
on.
yeah, silent partner here. Okay, and I'm Constance Son. You can always find me at Instagram, Twitter. Drop me a question and we will answer it.
And
Thank
I'm,
you so much.
And I'm your boy Jimmy V. Twitter, Instagram at Be Your Own Dad. Go check the blog, beyourowndad.blogspot.com. See you guys next
Thanks,
week.
Olivia, all of our VIPs. We appreciate you watching.
From executives Keven Undergaro, Dario Kristen, Tiana Hobson, and the entire BHL staff, we would like to thank you for supporting Black Hollywood Live, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. For questions and comments, contact us. info@blackhollywoodlive.com. Like us on Facebook, tweet us, or Instagram us at BHL Online. And I am the official voice of Black Hollywood Live, Scipio. Instagram me at KingXOBay. Thanks for tuning in.
Hollywood Redefined.
The views expressed here are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.